Hello S1 and welcome to our next lesson where we focus on the private reading project and the investigative approach. Just as a reminder, we're coming to the end of our 4-week plan. You should have finished your private reading books or short stories and some of your notes, but you will get plenty of time to work on the next part of the project. Please don't panic. You should have just about finished your research, and I know from speaking to your teachers and from looking at OneNotes myself that I can see loads of good research already, so well done. But you will get more help with your research from the science department as well. So again, don't worry if you're struggling with that a little bit. As per usual, you'll have a starter quiz, and today is a spelling quiz based on words that you have learned across the curriculum. Just as a reminder, the private reading project, we will look at that next week. So right now, as long as you've read your short stories and novels, you have a break from your private reading. Let's start by looking at the S1 investigation then that we're doing in conjunction with the Bertha Park High Science Department. And as a reminder, you're selecting and finding information, organising information, creating new texts, working on your presentation skills for this interdisciplinary project. Because most of you have finished your research today, we're going to focus on putting information into our own words. Now, why do we do this? Well, putting information into our own words shows that we have a full understanding of what we have read. It shows your personality. Anyone could copy and paste, and that's not what we want to see. If you copied and pasted, for all I know, you didn't even really read it. And we always know. So please don't just copy and paste, please put information into your own words, or better yet, don't put them into words at all, present your information in one of the ways that we've taught you. Remember that you have done this before when we've looked at RUI in the classroom. You don't need to translate every single word. Use your skimming skills that you've been practicing the last couple of weeks. So skim reading a passage, work out what it means, and then think about how you would explain that to a friend, and that's how you would write it down. Let's look at an example then. So here's an example from a passage where it says, bananas can help moderate blood sugar levels after meals and may reduce appetite by slowing stomach emptying. So I've changed that to, bananas are good for calming blood levels after you've eaten something. They also help to make you less hungry because they slow down how quickly your stomach processes food. If we go on, a 2007 study suggested that eating bananas might help prevent wheezing in children with asthma. One reason for this could be the antioxidant and potassium content of bananas. However, more research is needed to confirm these findings. And I've changed that to, bananas might also be good for kids who have asthma because they potentially help to stop kids from wheezing. Now, there's still a bit left here to do, but you might be able to do that with your teacher in the live starter. So, this task here will probably take you about 10 to 15 minutes, and what I want you to do is pick one of the passages that you have found yourself and try and put it into your own words. Don't try and put the entire passage in, just pick a paragraph. It's just practice, but remember, the practice you do now, you could add into your investigation. So pause the video, give yourself 15 minutes to do this task, and on you go. Moving on then to the last bits and bobs of an investigation, we're going to look at content pages and references. So a contents page, it will always show the page and slide numbers needed. It will be a list of everything you will include in your investigation. You'll always find a contents page at the start, usually it's with the very first page. It needs to be clear and simple, and it needs to be in the order that their pages occur. And you might have section headings and page numbers as well. So if you look at the 3 examples there, the first one, the colourful one, is super duper simple. Then the one to the right is a sort of traditional looking contents page, and the one to the left, that's where it's got section headings and then page numbers underneath each bit. So here's an example. If I was doing my investigation on acid rain, which you're all doing, I might have these pages here. So I might have my introduction to my investigation on page 1. Then my 5 different questions: how acid rain affects wildlife, how acid rain affects trees, acid rain in countries, causes of acid rain, they would all be in a separate page. The one thing I haven't asked you to do is have another page at the end that says findings from science. So you'll be looking at this with your science teacher, and any interesting information, it might even just be stuff that's in your OneNote already that you're just going to transfer over in a neater way. You'll put that on your final page. And then my final page is my list of references. If you want to, pause the video just now and start to think about maybe not the page numbers yet, but just the order in which you want your questions to come, so that you can have a rough idea of what your contents page would look like. If you're stuck or you're worried about anything, you could take a picture of this and send it to your teacher just to ask for help. On you go. Let's move on then to references. Now, why do we bother with references? Well, it's really quite simple. If you're using information that you didn't find out yourself, so you didn't do the research, you found out from someone else's research, or you didn't have that opinion, that was someone else's opinion, then if you don't reference it, you're basically pretending that you came up with the stuff yourself. So by a reference, what you do is you say, this opinion came from Jones 1995. So in 1995, Professor Jones had this opinion, and you are making sure that you're acknowledging your sources. So one of the things that you need to make sure is that you never get accused of cheating or taking someone else's work and pretending it's yours. So the basic reason for referencing is that. But the more moral reason is because you always want to give someone else credit for the work that they did. It's really important. Just like if you worked really hard, you'd want someone else to make sure when they were mentioning your work, they said it was you that did it. So referencing is really, really important. Now, how do you acknowledge your sources? Well, as you get older, how you acknowledge sources will become more complicated. We've tried to keep it simple just now, but the ones that I'm showing you here, some of you might have an even simpler version. So don't panic if this looks really complicated, okay? So basically what I've done is under each different type of source, the first bullet point shows how I want you to put the information out. And the second bullet point is just an example. So if you look at the internet source, which most of you will be using, so we'll focus on that just now, you want to put the title of the internet article in inverted commas, the full URL. So remember I kept asking you to copy and paste the URL into your research notes. This is why. So I don't want to see wikipedia.com or bbc.com. I want to see http:// the full URL.com. And the last thing I want to write is the date you accessed the information. And that's really good practice for when you're older, because as you know, and as a lot of you already wrote in your last lesson, the information on websites changes all the time. So in order to make sure that, again, you're not caught out, you need to write down when you accessed the information. I'm not going to go through the rest individually because you'll have all these on your slides and you'll be able to look at them as a sort of checklist to help you. However, if you do need help with referencing, please let your teacher know and they will go through this with you on a one-to-one basis. So your S1 investigation then, your checklist, you need to have a title page, contents, a page for each of your investigation questions, and your title for each page will be your investigation question. A findings from science page, and that's where you'll add in all your information that you found out in your science lesson. And you must end it with a list of your references. So where you found all your different bits of information, all your different sources. Let's think about presenting your information then. It can be handwritten on paper. It could be completed on Word. It could be completed on the Pages app, but you'll need to convert to PDF in order to send it to get marked. It could be completed on PowerPoint, but make sure you treat the PowerPoint almost like a workbook in itself, and each slide is a page. PowerPoints are quite useful for adding in diagrams and things like that. They tend to be less clunky than Word. My personal preference as your English teacher is the handwritten version because I've seen such beautiful examples of lovely workbooks that people have created. But you could type it, it's not a problem. If you would like to do it handwritten and you don't have access to paper and pens, please contact me and I will find out how I can sort that out for you. Okay? But please make sure that you present your information beautifully. Okay, this is really important that you take pride in your work. So here's your success criteria. You've got the checklist, which was 2 slides ago. You need to make sure you've presented your information in at least 2 different ways. And remember, we've covered tables, labeled diagrams, flow diagrams, timelines, comic strips, and maps. You need to show a clear understanding of acid rain, what it is, the process, and so on from your science lessons. You need to use different sources for your information, so I don't want to see in your list of references only one source. You need to put information that you're writing down into paragraphs into your own words, and you need to take pride in your work and carefully consider layout and presentation. What I would really want you to focus on today is your title page and one of your questions. So let's spread the work out a little bit. So your title page and one of the questions to get you started, okay? And I'll let you know how you can let your teacher see that you've done that. So let's go over today's lesson then. We have looked at spelling, using your own words, how to do contents pages, how to reference, and your investigation checklist. And over the next couple of lessons, you have to complete your investigation. Bye for now.